So my name is James Lenehan. I'm the chairman of Win-Win. We're a Dublin-based loyalty and incentives company. And today I'm here to talk to you a little bit about capturing the hearts and purchasing habits of construction contractors. So the channel area and how you can make a difference within that area. So just a little bit about Win-Win, where we came from. So we're going to be almost 20 years old now at the stage where we work across the rewards and loyalty sector with about 100 different clients. Our focus is outside of construction and within the construction centre. So we do loyalty for people like Vodafone and Aviva and Energia and so on, but also we work now with a range of clients within the construction sector. So what are you going to get from listening to me here today? Well, I'd like to think that it'll get you thinking for a little while about how to build a relationship with contractors, with your manufacturer, or if you're a builder provider, and you want to try and develop that relationship, and also just growing a recurring revenue stream, which is something I think all businesses want to look at closely. So to start, we're going to look at the channel. Obviously, to our mind, the channel, there is no other industry, working across probably about 20 different sectors, there's no industry where the actual channel is more important than in the construction sector. And we're going to take a little bit look at that. You can see here from this reasonably complicated chart that over on the left-hand side, you've got the manufacturer and the sales and marketing department. And you've got a whole range of different players within the channel, coming across to big box, one step, two step, as they call them in the States. You've obviously in Ireland, you've got wholesaler, distributor, you've got builder, provider. But ultimately all roads lead to a contractor. And I mean, for me personally, I got some work done in my house recently, and almost all the decisions were made by the contractor in terms of whether it was plasterboard, hot supplier for insulation, for windows, for flooring. An awful lot of the decision making was made on my behalf by the contractor. And so ultimately, if you're a manufacturer, you know the importance of a contractor and what role they play in selling your product ultimately. But it gets even more complicated as time goes on, because there's so many other players, and we won't even go into this chart, but you can see hundreds of other influencers. But to our mind, the biggest influencer is around that contractor, the main contractor, in terms of deciding what product is used on a job. So I suppose the lesson in this is, contractors can make or break a sale, and ultimately it's very important, because they're such a critical influencer, it's so important for you to get close to them. And that goes for, as I say, manufacturers, but also for providers. So let's look at a typical contractor. We've been working with a company called Principia, who are an American research specialist in the construction sector, and they've run some research around typically what's the profile of a contractor. So they're typically a very loyal type of person. They prefer not to change allegiances unless they have to, so that's a really good thing if you're trying to sell product into that channel. They have a long day, starts at 6, ends at early evening. Most of the day is spent in the field, and they're multitasking, but their big challenges are around finding qualified workers, doing paperwork and training, and dealing with the client. So that's just the person that we're looking to try and connect with. And what do they actually want? So again, this research through up from Principia told us that in terms of what a contractor wants from a manufacturer, there are about 6 things, and none of these aren't in any necessary order. First is around product knowledge, so getting a keen understanding of the product, because ultimately they're going to be installing it. They want a competitive price. They don't necessarily need the lowest price in the market, but they want a competitive price that makes sense to them. They want a good communication channel, so that again they can find out more about the product if required. Trust is hugely important to them, because ultimately there are warranties after they've left a job, and they want to make sure that the product stands up. They don't have somebody pulling them back onto a job because the product doesn't work. And more recently now, in recent research, recognition is becoming a much bigger thing. There are new channels opening through the whole digital area, with obviously mobile and email and so on. And ultimately, contractors realise that they need to be recognised for spending money regularly with given product manufacturers. And ultimately, I suppose they want a relationship with them. So they are the key findings of this piece of research that was carried out by Principia. So ultimately, in summary, contractors want to feel appreciated and they want to feel rewarded. So what do we do about this? Well, we have an opportunity and businesses now increasingly are looking at ways that they can launch a contractor loyalty program, a scheme that would engage contractors, allow them to I suppose, build a relationship ultimately with the manufacturer of the product. And so, a couple of quick facts in relation to this. First is that contractors are 3 times more committed to a manufacturer where a loyalty scheme exists. Again, this came out of the research. So 62% versus 21% of wallet can be captured with the loyalty scheme. So it's a huge, huge impact. So if you're in this space, you should definitely be considering it because it's a really fast way to try and drive increased revenue. In terms of trying to sell it to contractors, why would you get involved? Well, again, the research threw out that contractors who actually participate in loyalty programs within the construction sector are seeing 2 times more growth, so twice as much growth as those contractors who are not participating. So again, if they want to, I think it's because they're becoming closer and closer to manufacturers, they're getting better price, they're getting better service, there's more trust, and ultimately that's filtering down to their bottom line. So in terms of the steps that one needs to take if you're in this area, in terms of getting a program up and running, so the first would be to build a contractor loyalty solution, and the second is to be inclusive. So if you're a manufacturer, it doesn't mean that you're going to cut out the rest of the channel, and that's really important. You want to try and bring people with you if you can. And so the distributor, for example, might be a little disgruntled if you're trying to bypass them, or likewise the builder provider. But we're working with a client now who's including that channel within their loyalty scheme. So they're getting rewarded. The builder provider is helping to drive growth for this loyalty program, and that's something that we would always advocate because it's better to be inclusive than not. We've launched a new product which we're promoting today here on stand 4 just outside the door, and it's called Loyalty Builder. And this really is, I suppose, an out-of-the-box, ready-to-go solution for anybody in the manufacturing space who is interested in engaging directly with contractors. So Loyalty Builder is a new platform. It's built to allow building product manufacturers to connect, understand, and reward contractors directly. It comes, I suppose, we look at it as 2 phases. The first is around loyalty and data. So we recommend that you don't go out of the box and try and engage 1,000 or 10,000 contractors. You start with somewhere in the region of 50 to 100 contractors, and you identify who they are, who are your special contractors who are buying from you, and it's, obviously people like your reps will be able to identify who they are. You can bring them on board. You set up a regular communication channel with them, and you reward their purchases. The second phase is around analysing the data and extrapolating data for deep market insight, and you'll be amazed at what you'll find once you start to pull data from the channel that you've never seen before. What you actually get, we don't have a huge amount of detail here, but we'll be happy to talk you through it, but essentially what we have is a ready-to-go smartphone app, which is given to the contractor. They download it to their phone, and it essentially is your communication channel with the contractor direct. You invite them to take photographs of their invoices and their receipts using this app, and our technology is able to lift all the information off that. So if I'm in the Windows game and I go into my builder provider and buy spend 800 or 1,000 euro on some window parts, I take a photograph of my invoice having walked out of the builder provider. That'll go straight back up. The Loyalty Builder technology will lift all that information off, and you'll get rewarded based on what's on that invoice. So immediately, if you spend 800 quid, you might get 20 or 25 euro back. And you can then use that against a whole suite of rewards, from iPads to trips to Old Trafford and a whole range of other goodies that you'll find appealing as a contractor. Ultimately, that data then sits on the server and it's shared back with the manufacturer. And so that element then means that they can start making strategic decisions around what's being purchased what the adjacent products are, what other things the contractor is actually buying, what kind of price point they're paying, what builder provider do they purchase the items through, and so on. So I suppose in terms of a long-term growth plan and why you might get involved in a loyalty scheme for the contractor channel, first is that you're identifying contractors. That's always been a huge problem. So I, as a manufacturer, have no idea what contractors are really using my product and who are advocating them. So the first thing is to identify them. You can now reward them directly as well as a result of this program that we have built called Loyalty Builder. The second is understanding the contractor, and really that's about capturing the data. So it's the understanding the who, the how, the where, the why of the purchase. And again, we will do all of that work for you and give it back to you. The third then is about delivering a 5-star product. That's obviously over to you, but making sure that the contractor is kept up to speed and up to date on changes within the product range. You can send push notifications through the app, make sure that they're updated on changes of regulation and so on. It just means that they now feel that they're loved, essentially, and cared for by you. And then finally, you've got ultimately you've got to back everything up with a 7-star customer service offering to make sure that they feel that you're there for them at all times. That really is how you deliver long-term growth. Ultimately, that is what's working for the clients we're working with now. They're seeing the returns on it commercially, and we can share that model with you if anyone is interested. Here's kind of just a couple of different rewards that people get. So sample contractors, so you got premiership, hotel breaks, iPads, big screen TVs, cinema tickets, GAA tickets. The list goes on. We run competitions and giveaways. So again, you're getting an opportunity to talk to and engage the contractor throughout the year, and really that will have a huge impact on your sales. The data that you get is broken down. There's a huge amount of data. We can't list it all here, but at a top level, you're going to get basically we get the copy of the invoice. So you're going to get quantity of product purchased by SKU. You're going to look at segmentation by client and competitor, where they bought the product, the invoice number, the invoice total. So typically, does the contractor spend €1,000 when they go into that builder provider? Did they spend €300? Did they spend 20,000? What else is on the invoice? What time of the day are they buying? When do you want to run your promotions? Do they all shop on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays? Do they shop on weekends? Is it completely random? What retailers are they shopping in? And where do they spend the most money? A lot of that manufacturers are completely blind to, and we can deliver that information back to you. And then there's, of course, we can obviously identify how much they've been rewarded. So at the end of the year, contractor X may have earned €600 worth of rewards back from you. You know that person's highly engaged, and you can use them then for testimonials and so on as well. Reporting outputs, again, there's a lot of detail in this, but spending trend we give you back reports ultimately around spend, product preferences and SKUs, and then the loyalty aspect. And we analyse everything on your behalf. So you're getting a full turnkey service out of the box ready to go. We've got full dashboards, so you get your own login, you can go in and take a look and see how your contractors are performing by retailer, by spend, and then how much they're earning as well. So briefly, just in terms of how much something like this might cost you, obviously every manufacturer is different, and spend profiles are completely different by sector. But if, for example, a manufacturer A was turning over €10 million in the last 12 months, and they have about 400 contractors who regularly buy their products, we would look at maybe signing up 100 of them to a program like this. So we'd encourage them to download the app, we'd get them involved in it, we start communicating through the channel of email and through the app. Over the last 12 months, they may have spent, say, 4 million out of the 10 million they may have been responsible. We would look at probably investing initially, there might be 10 to 15 grand in setup, and then you might have another 30 odd grand in extra rewards that you want to give back. So in total, you're talking about maybe 100 contractors, and it's costing you maybe €500 per contractor. By the end of the year, we would expect you would see a 25% lift in spend from those 100 contractors, which would ultimately yield you an extra $1 million in revenue from those 100 people. When you cut that down, and divided by 100 people, that means 50,000 multiplied by 20, you're getting a 20x return on your investment, which is unrivaled in any industry. So loyalty does pay. By generating a loyal base, you can see a huge ROI on your investment. Again, as I say, we'd be very happy to talk to anybody who's interested in that and how we can actually achieve that for you. So finally, just in terms of the outcome for manufacturers, so this is all about sustainable growth, and we do have a solution for builder providers, which is a little different from that. But if you are in the builder provider sector, we'd be delighted to talk to you. You may have hundreds of contractors who are spending regularly with you as well. We'd be only delighted to take you through that out on stand 4. But ultimately, what we want you to get from this is that you get greater market understanding. That's something that's sorely lacking for manufacturers. They have no idea really who's buying their products at the moment. You get greater brand awareness and trust. Increased contractor retention, ultimately, which leads to greater spend, and ultimately you'll have a happier customer. So thank you very much for listening, and as I say, if you have any questions, we're just outside the door on stand 4. Thank you.